Today, as a UK tourist, I'm visiting the wonderful city of Liverpool and giving you a little look around at the wonderful views from the Albert Dock. For years I've wanted to go and see what this city offered and check out its history. After all, Liverpool has a wealth of history dating back to 1207, when it was first granted status as a borough and then given a city status of Lancashire back in 1880. Liverpool's urbanisation and expansion were largely brought about by the city's status as a major port, and its history dates back to importation from Ireland, mainland Europe and also the West Indies, as well as having connections to the Atlantic slave trade. Lest we also forget that Liverpool was the port of registry of the ocean liner, the RMS Titanic, with the words Titanic Liverpool that could be seen on the stern of the ship, which then unfortunately went on to sink, killing hundreds. Liverpool is also well known for its inventions and innovations, particularly in the terms of infrastructure, transport, general construction and in the fields of public health and social reform. Even railways and ferries were all pioneered in the city, together with the first societies for animal and child protection, the first schools for the blind, for working men and for girls. Liverpool's status as a port city has contributed to its diverse population, which historically were drawn from a wide range of peoples, cultures and religions, particularly those from Ireland. The city is also home to the oldest Black African community and also the oldest community of Chinese in Europe. The Albert Dock is a complex of dock buildings and warehouses. They were designed by Jess Hartley and Philip Hardwick and opened in 1846 and was the first structure in Britain to be built from cast iron, brick and stone with no structural wood. And as a result, it was the first non-combustible warehouse system in the world. At the time of its construction, the Albert Dock was considered a revolutionary docking system because ships were loaded and unloaded directly from and to the warehouses. 2 years after it opened, it was modified to feature the world's first hydraulic cranes. Due to its open yet secure design, the Albert Dock became a popular store for valuable cargo such as brandy, cotton, silk, tea, ivory, tobacco and sugar. However, despite the Albert Dock's advanced design, the rapid development of shipping technology meant that within 50 years, larger, more open docks were required, although it remained a valuable store for cargo. During the Second World War, the Albert Dock was requisitioned by the Admiralty, serving as a base for boats for the British Atlantic Fleet. The complex was damaged during air raids on Liverpool, notably during the May Blitz of 1941. In the aftermath of the war, the financial problems of the owners and the general decline of the docking in the city meant that the future of the Albert Dock was uncertain. Numerous plans were developed for the reuse of the buildings, but no one came to fruition, and in 1972 the dock was finally closed. Having lain derelict for nearly 10 years, the redevelopment of the dock began in 1981 when the Merseyside Development Corporation was set up, with the Albert Dock being officially reopened in 1984. Celebrity TV couple Richard Madeley and Judy Finnegan made the Albert Dock more famous as they hosted the popular TV programme This Morning that started in the 1980s. It was filmed from the dock with a large weather map that sat in the basin of the docks, being jumped on by their weatherman Fred Talbot. Music. Liverpool has been also labelled the World Capital City of Pop by the Guinness World of Records, as the artists from Liverpool have produced more #1 singles than any other area. We start with Billy Fury, who became an internationally successful English singer from the late 1950s to the mid-1960s, and he also remained an active songwriter until the early 1980s. An early British rock and roll and film star, he equalled the Beatles' record of 24 hits in the 1960s and spent 332 weeks on the UK chart without a chart-topping single or album. You can see his statue at the Albert Docks today. Gerry and the Pacemakers were a British beat music group prominent during the 1960s. In common with the Beatles, they came from Liverpool, were managed by Brian Epstein and recorded by George Martin. They are most remembered for being the first act to reach number 1 in the UK singles chart with their first 3 single releases. Now, Liverpool wouldn't be Liverpool if of course we didn't mention the famous boys, the Beatles. They were a group formed in 1960 with John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison and Ringo Starr. They became widely regarded as the greatest and most influential act of the rock era. From the 60s, the Beatles built their reputation playing in clubs in Liverpool and Hamburg over the 3-year period. Their manager, Brian Epstein, moulded them into a professional act, and producer George Martin enhanced their musical potential. They gained popularity in the United Kingdom after their first hit, Love Me Do, in the late 1962. They acquired the nickname the Fab Four as Beatlemania grew in Britain over the following year, and by early 1964 they became an international stars, leading the British invasion of the United States pop market. From 1965 onwards, the Beatles produced what many critics consider their finest material, including the albums Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and Abbey Road. After their breakup in 1970, they each enjoyed successful musical careers. Lennon was shot and killed in December 1980. Harrison died of lung cancer in November 2001. McCartney and Starr, the surviving members, remain musically active. Cilla Black was an English singer, actress, entertainer and media personality. She began her career in 1963 as a singer and is most famous for her UK singles Anyone Who Had a Heart and You're My World, both of which reached number 1 in 1964. Cilla had 11 top 10 hits in the British charts between 64 and 1971, and after a successful recording career in the 60s and the 70s, and a brief time as a comedy actress in the 1970s, Cilla became a prominent TV presenter from the 80s to the 90s. In 2013, Cilla celebrated her 50 years in show business. British TV network ITV honoured the milestone with a one-off entertainment special, which was aired in October 2013. The show, called The One and Only Cilla Black, featured Cilla herself and was hosted by Paul O'Grady.
This time it's goodbye, dear. Loving you the way I do.
Liverpool is also well known for its strong sporting identity. The city is home of 2 Premier League football clubs, Liverpool and Everton. Matches between these 2 clubs are known as the Merseyside Derby. Liverpool is an English Premier Football club based in Liverpool. It's one of the most successful clubs in England, has won more European trophies than any other British team, with 5 European Cups, 3 UEFA Cups and 3 UEFA Super Cups. The club has also won 18 league titles, 7 FA Cups and a record 8 League Cups. The club's supporters have been involved in 2 major tragedies. The first was the Hazel Stadium disaster in 1985, in which charging Liverpool fans caused a wall to collapse, killing 39 Juventus supporters and resulting in English clubs being banned from European competitions for 5 years. In 1989 Hillsborough disaster, 96 Liverpool supporters lost their lives in a crush against perimeter fencing. Liverpool has long-standing rivalries with neighbours Everton and Manchester United. The team changed from red t-shirts and white shorts to an all-red home strip in 1964. The club's anthem is "You'll Never Walk Alone." Everton, our English Premier League football club, are also based in Liverpool. The club have competed in top division for a record 110 seasons, missing only 4 seasons, all at level 2, and they've won the League Championship 9 times. Formed in 1878, Everton were founding members of the Football League in 1888 and won their first league championship 2 seasons later. Following 4 league titles and the 2 FA Cup wins, Everton experienced a lull in the immediate post-World War II period until a revival in the 1960s, which saw the club win 2 league championships and an FA Cup. The mid-1980s represented their most recent period of success, with 2 league championship successes, an FA Cup, and the 1985 European Cup Winners' Cup. The club's most recent major trophy was the 1995 FA Cup. The club supporters are known as Evertonians. Everton have been rivalry neighbours with Liverpool, and the 2 sides contest the Merseyside derby. The club has been based at Goodison Park since 1892 after moving from Anfield. The club's colours are a royal blue shirts and white shirts. Taking into account the docks with its basins and the people, the buildings and the Mersey itself, I can see why people visit this wonderful place. The train journey into the city was really interesting. I was expecting to see the sights from the train window, but alas, it's all underground, so again it's another experience. The city felt vast, the buildings huge, almost like being in London all over again. The architecture was wonderful, and knowing all the history this city offers, there is never a shortage of places of interest to visit. One being the famous Liver building, or the docks, or even the famous cavern, which was influential in Liverpool's music history. And sports, go and see the stadiums or experience a game if you can. There seems to be a good selection of bars, cafes and restaurants, and I would advise the Pump House in the Albert Docks, or go to visit the Tate Gallery at the docks. I would fully recommend the cafe in the Tate and the gift shop with beautiful prints and books. Also further along from the Tate, there is a variety of gift shops that you can buy music and football memorabilia and other gifts. As I walked around the Albert Dock admiring the scenery, the beautiful architecture of old buildings standing alongside buildings from the 1960s and modern day structures, they complement each other. The Maritime Museum has a mountain of history to look through, and I would definitely advise, if you haven't been to Liverpool, go and look, see the docks, see the architecture, experience Liverpool as I have. It's a wonderful trip to take. My only negative point was I just didn't have enough time there. Next time I will spend a few days to visit more of the city, see the cathedrals. I will see more, take the ferry across the Mersey. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to watch this video.